Just 5 days after our wedding, I went to pick up my CEO wife from work. I waited outside Longjing Group, expecting to see her walk out and come home with me. Instead, my phone lit up with a message from her. "I'm already home." For a moment, I just stared at those words. Then the doors of the executive elevator opened. There she was. Minglan walked out, wearing the off-white blazer I had chosen for her that morning. Her hair was tucked behind her ears, and there was a rare smile on her face. But she wasn't alone. Her new male assistant, Jiayin, walked beside her, carrying her bag. He leaned closer and said something. She smiled. I sat there inside my car, watching my wife of 5 days walk away with another man. I didn't call her. I didn't ask for an explanation. I didn't even get out of the car. I simply opened the backup footage from my dashcam, took a picture of their car's license plate and the time, then sent a message to the housekeeper, Aunt Chun. "Pack everything that belongs to me from the master bedroom." At 8:20 p.m. The entrance of Longjing Group was still crowded with employees leaving work. I sat in my car with my hands resting on the steering wheel, completely still. 5 minutes earlier, Minglan had texted me. "Don't come pick me up. I'm already home. I'm tired today and want to rest early." I looked at her message, then looked at the company entrance. I had come 30 minutes early because she said she would work until 8. I even brought her favorite hot latte and a bouquet of freesias. I thought she would be happy to see me. Instead, I watched her get into Jiayin's car. It was the company-issued black business car assigned to assistants. Jiayin opened the passenger door for her and carefully placed his hand above the door frame so she wouldn't hit her head. Minglan didn't refuse. As the car started moving, Jiayin suddenly turned his head and looked directly toward me through the windshield. He recognized my car. Then he smiled. It wasn't a normal polite smile. It was the smile of someone who knew he had won and wanted the other person to understand it. I turned off my headlights and watched their car disappear. I didn't follow them. I just lowered my head and sent another message. "Aunt Chun, I'm not coming home tonight. Please pack the clothes from the left side of the master bedroom closet, the documents in my study drawer, and the files inside the safe. The driver will come to collect them." A few seconds later, she replied, "Sir, did you and Madam have a fight?" I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed, "No, I just need to leave." After sending it, I opened my laptop and logged into the back end of the Yun fan system. This was the biggest project of Longjing Group. 3 years ago, Minglan almost lost her position as CEO because of a serious supply chain failure. The company was falling apart, and the board was ready to remove her. I spent 4 exhausting months rebuilding everything. I connected overseas warehouses, custom systems, logistics networks, and payment channels. I created the entire Yun fan system from the ground up. Back then, Minglan held me tightly and said, "Shen, without you, I would have nothing. I never asked for company shares. I never asked for a position. I only added one clause to the contract. The core authorization of the Yun fan system belonged to my personal studio. Longjing Group could use it, but without my written approval, they couldn't transfer the rights, change the core architecture ownership, or use it for outside financing presentations." At that time, Minglan looked at me and asked, "Are you afraid I'll betray you?" I smiled. "I'm not afraid of you. I'm afraid people change." She was angry with me for 3 days. Then she came back and promised me she would never let me down. Looking back now, I realized the biggest mistake people make is believing promises will always remain the same. At 9:40 p.m. Aunt Chun called me. Her voice sounded careful. "Sir, Madam is back." I was standing by the hotel window, looking down at the city lights below. I was alone. Aunt Chun hesitated before continuing. Assistant Sue sent her back. The car stopped outside the house. When Madame got out, Assistant Sue placed his coat over her shoulders. I closed my eyes. Got it. On the other end of the call, I heard the sound of the door unlocking. A few seconds later, Minglan's voice came from inside. "Where is Shen Yan?" Aunt Chun answered carefully. "Madam, Sir packed up all his things and left." The house suddenly went quiet. For several seconds, there was no sound at all. Then I heard the sharp footsteps of high heels hitting the floor. Su Minglan's voice turned cold. "What did you say?" Aunt Chun repeated herself. "Sir's clothes, documents, and computer have already been taken away by the driver." Su Minglan sounded shocked. "What is he throwing a tantrum for?" Aunt Chun didn't reply. I could hear Su Minglan walking quickly toward the master bedroom. Then came the sound of the closet opening. The next second, the sound of hangers being moved around filled the room. She was checking. She finally realized I was really gone. A moment later, my phone rang. Su Minglan was calling. I didn't answer. She called again. I still ignored it. On the third call, she sent me a voice message. "Xinyan, what do you mean by this? We've only been married for 5 days, and now you're ignoring me like this?" I opened the message and listened. Then I placed my phone face down on the desk. Half a minute later, another message came in. It was from Su Jiayin. "Mr. Shun, President Su was just exhausted from work today. I only drove her home. As a man, don't be so petty." I stared at the message. Then I laughed. He was more nervous than Su Minglan. I took a screenshot and saved it in my evidence folder. The folder name was simple. Day 5 of Marriage. Just as I was about to close my laptop, an email arrived from Lin Wantong. The subject immediately caught my attention. Application for change of authorship on Yun Fan project. Applicant: Su Jiayin. Approver: Su Minglan. I stared at the screen, slowly tightening my grip on the mouse. So that lie in the car wasn't just about hiding something between them. They were also trying to take my project. The next morning at 7 o'clock, right after I finished showering, Su Minglan called again. This time I answered, but her first words were not an apology. They were an accusation. "Xinyan, where did you go?" I placed my towel over the back of the chair. "A hotel." There was a pause. "You have a home, but you refuse to come back. So you choose to stay in a hotel?" I looked out the window. The sky was still dark. "That home isn't suitable for me right now." There was silence for 2 seconds. Then she gave a cold laugh. "Just because I didn't let you come pick me up? Xinyan, when did you become this sensitive?" I looked outside at the quiet street. "You told me you were already home." She immediately replied, "I said that because I didn't want you to waste your time coming over. But you got into Su Jiayin's car outside the office." Her voice paused. When she spoke again, there was clear impatience. "You're following me?" I let out a small laugh. "I went to pick up my newlywed wife after work. Does that count as following?" Su Minglan's voice became colder. "Su Jiayin is my assistant. It's normal for me to ride in his car. Everyone in senior management knows he handles my schedule. Don't turn normal work into something dirty." Normal work. I remembered him placing his coat over her shoulders. I remembered his message telling me not to be petty. And I remembered the authorship change application Lin Wantong sent me. I asked calmly, "Then is changing the authorship of the Yun Fan project also normal work?" The line instantly went silent. After a few seconds, Su Minglan lowered her voice. "Who told you about that?" "That's not important." "Of course it's important," she replied. "Xinyan, internal company documents are not something you can just access whenever you want." I leaned back on the sofa. "The core authorization of the Yun Fan system belongs to me. Why can't I see it?" She took a breath. "It's only temporary. We're adding Su Jiayin to the project team so he can communicate with clients. Don't make this bigger than it is." I looked at the application again. It says co-lead of the core architecture. He has contributed a lot recently. I nodded. What exactly did he contribute? Su Minglan didn't answer. A few seconds later, her tone became firm. "Xinyan, stop using your past contributions to pressure people. The company is growing. Can't revolve around you forever." That sentence made everything clear. She wasn't just defending him. She was already starting to see me as an obstacle. I stayed silent for a moment. Then I said, "Fine." She seemed surprised. "Fine what?" I looked at the phone screen. The company doesn't revolve around me, and this marriage doesn't have to revolve around you either. After saying that, I ended the call. At 10 o'clock in the morning, I went to Longjing Group. Not to see Su Minglan. I went to the legal department to retrieve the original documents for the Yunfan project. When the receptionist saw me, she gave me a slightly awkward look. Before the wedding, whenever I came to Longjing Group, everyone called me Consultant Shin. But after I married Su Minglan, people slowly started calling me something else. Ms. Su's husband. Those words sounded respectful, but somehow they felt like an invisible label covering everything I had achieved. My skills, my experience, my contributions, everything was reduced to one identity. Su Minglan's husband. I swiped my card and stepped into the elevator. While the doors were closing, I overheard two employees talking nearby. Is that Ms. Su's new husband? I heard he used to be a consultant, but now he barely comes to the company. Isn't he basically living off her? Don't say that. He's actually pretty impressive. What's the point of looking good? The person Ms. Su trusts the most now is Assistant Su. The elevator doors closed completely. I didn't turn around. When I arrived at the legal department, Han Ziyuan personally came out to greet me. He was Longjing's senior legal counsel, and 3 years ago, he had handled the contract for the Yunfan project. The moment he saw me, his expression became serious. Shen Yan, you saw the email? I nodded. I need a scanned copy of the original contract and the supplementary agreement with the official stamp. Han Ziyuan looked at me for a few seconds. Are you really planning to take action? I looked at him calmly. They made the first move. Han Ziyuan sighed and handed me the documents. Jiayin came here yesterday afternoon. He said President Su wants to include the Yunfan project in next quarter's financing materials. He also asked whether the original architect credits could be changed. What did you say? I refused. I told him it couldn't happen unless you personally approved it. I took the documents from him. So he went around you and submitted the internal application himself. Han Ziyuan nodded. Yes. He lowered his voice. Shin Yan, I probably shouldn't say this, but Su Jiayin is not as simple as he looks. He has only been here for 2 months, but he has already replaced many of President Su's old team members with people close to him. He paused. Be careful. I placed the documents into my bag. Thanks. The moment I stepped out of the legal department, I ran into Su Jiayin. He was wearing a neat light gray suit, with his employee badge perfectly placed. When he saw me, he paused for a second. Then he walked over with a smile. Mr. Shun, what brings you here? Looking for President Su? He smiled. She's in a meeting right now. She probably doesn't have time to see you. I looked at him. I'm here for legal matters. His eyes moved toward the file bag in my hand. The smile on his face faded slightly. Mr. Shun, some things are better handled between husband and wife. Bringing them into the company isn't exactly dignified. I didn't respond. He stepped closer. President Su was very upset last night. She hates it when someone tries to threaten her by leaving. I looked directly into his eyes. You seem to know her very well. Su Jiayin smiled. I'm her assistant. Of course, I need to understand her habits. I nodded. Then you should also know she doesn't like people who underestimate her intelligence. His expression stiffened. I took out my phone and opened the message he sent me last night. I've already saved this message. I looked at him. Don't waste time trying to delete it later. It won't change anything. His lips moved slightly. What do you mean? I tapped the file bag in my hand. I mean what you're trying to get. You won't be able to touch it. I turned around and walked into the elevator. Before the doors closed, I saw his smile disappear completely. That afternoon, Su Minglan sent me a message. Come home tonight. We need to talk. I replied, if it's about divorce, I'm available. She answered almost immediately. Shin Yan, don't regret this. I stared at those 4 words for a long time. Then I put my phone down and didn't reply. That night, and Chun secretly sent me a photo. In the master bedroom, our wedding photo was placed face down on the nightstand. Beside it was the cold medicine Su Jiayin had brought. Under the medicine box was a small note. Minglan, don't be sad over someone who isn't worth it. I saved the photo. That night, for the first time, I sent the divorce agreement to my lawyer. Near midnight, my lawyer replied, Mr. Shen, the prenuptial agreement, project authorization, and personal asset separation are all clear. If you decide to divorce, she cannot take anything from you. However, if she uses the Yunfan system for financing without your authorization, you have the right to hold her responsible. I stared at the word, responsible. At that moment, the last bit of warmth I had left disappeared. Su Minglan didn't wait for me to return home. The thing waiting for her was the draft of my lawyer's letter. That afternoon, Su Minglan came directly to the hotel. When I opened the door, she stood there looking exhausted. Su Jiayin wasn't with her. That surprised me a little. She looked at me for a few seconds, then asked the first question that came to her mind. Are you really planning to take this all the way to divorce? I stepped aside and let her enter. It's a conversation, not a threat. She walked into the room and looked around. My laptop was open on the desk, surrounded by documents and files. Her eyebrows tightened. You're staying somewhere like this? She looked around the five-star suite as if it was some cheap temporary shelter. I poured a glass of water and placed it on the table. It's temporary. It's fine. She didn't touch it. Xinyan, about last night, I can explain. Su Jiayin drove me because my driver suddenly took emergency leave. I told you I was already home because I didn't want you to waste your time waiting for me. I looked at her. Do you have the driver's leave record? Her expression froze. Are you checking up on me now? You're lying. Her eyes turned cold. Xinyan, do you really have to make everything this ugly? I took out my phone and placed the parking lot surveillance footage on the table. Your driver was still in the basement garage at 7:40 last night. At 8:15, he messaged you asking if you were ready to leave. You didn't reply. At 8:23, you got into Su Jiayin's car. Su Minglan stared at the video. Her expression slowly changed. She clearly didn't expect me to have this. For a long time, she said nothing. Then she suddenly asked, when did you become like this? Like what? Cold. Like you're questioning a criminal. I laughed. Then what do you want me to do? Destroy his car? Curse him in front of everyone? Or should I punch Su Jiayin in the face and create a scene? She pressed her lips together. I continued, Su Minglan, I gave you a chance. If you had told me the truth last night, I wouldn't have moved out for even a second. A flash of panic appeared in her eyes, but she quickly hid it. I admit I shouldn't have lied to you, but this isn't enough reason for a divorce. I looked directly at her. Then what is? She didn't answer. The room became completely silent. After more than 10 seconds, her phone rang. She looked at the screen and immediately hung up. I saw the caller ID, Su Jiayin. She turned the phone face down and said, come back to the Su family house for dinner tonight. My parents want to see you. I shook my head. No need. Her voice became heavier. Xinyan, we've only been married for 5 days. If you move out and stay in a hotel, what will the Su family think? What will my company think? At that moment, I understood. She didn't come because she cared that I was hurt. She came because she was worried about how it looked. I nodded. So you care about what they think? She looked straight at me. Can you stop twisting my words? I picked up my jacket. I'll go tonight. She visibly relaxed. Then I added, might as well clear everything up. Her expression darkened again. At 7 p.m. I arrived at the Su family's old mansion. The moment I stepped inside, I saw the entire house filled with relatives. Su Minglan's mother, Zhao Lan, sat at the head of the table. Her face was cold. She didn't even ask me to sit down. Her first words were, Xinyan, you've only been married to Minglan for a few days, and you're already moving into a hotel. Do you want outsiders to laugh at the Su family? Su Minglan sat quietly beside her. She didn't say a word. Su Jiayin was there too. He stood behind Su Minglan like a loyal shadow. I glanced at him. He lowered his head, but I noticed the slight curve at the corner of his mouth. Su Minglan's younger brother, Su Yan leaned back on the sofa and spoke sarcastically. Brother-in-law, aren't you being too dramatic? My sister manages hundreds of employees every day. When does she have time to constantly take care of you? Another relative laughed. Come on, be more understanding. You married the CEO of Longjing Group, not some ordinary woman. Jiayin placed her teacup down heavily. Minglan agreed to marry you because she remembers the help you gave her before. But you need to understand your position. You can't use one favor to control her forever. At that moment, Jiayin finally spoke. Please don't be angry, Mr. Shin. Maybe you just misunderstood the relationship between me and President Su. I can apologize. He turned toward me with a sincere expression. Mr. Shin, I'm sorry. From now on, I'll make sure to keep my distance from President Su so you won't feel uncomfortable. The moment Jiayin finished speaking, the way everyone looked at me changed. Their eyes were filled with even more judgment, as if I was the unreasonable one causing trouble. I stared directly at Jiayin. Exactly what are you apologizing for? He froze. I continued. For driving my wife home last night? Or for submitting the application to change the Yun Fan project credits today? The entire living room suddenly went silent. Su Minglan's expression changed. Jiayin frowned. What project credits? Jiayin's eyes flickered for a moment, but he quickly recovered. Mr. Shun, you misunderstood. I was only helping President Su organize some documents. I never intended to take anything from you. I took out a printed document and placed it on the coffee table. This is an internal application. Applicant: Jiayin. Approver: Su Minglan. The request is to change the joint lead architect credit for the Yun Fan System's core architecture. Everyone's eyes immediately turned toward Su Minglan. Her face became ugly. That application hasn't been approved yet. I looked at her. Not approved because you didn't want to approve it? Or because legal told you it couldn't move forward without my signature? She couldn't answer. Su Yan picked up the document, glanced through it, and frowned. It's just a credit. What's the big deal? I looked at him. Then why don't we remove your name from the Su family records and replace it with Su Jiayin's? Would that still be just a name? Su Yan's face instantly turned pale. Jiayin slammed her hand down. Shin Yan, how dare you talk to me like that? I stood up. I didn't come here today to ask for your approval. I came here to inform you. I placed another document on the table. First, Su Minglan hid a serious issue regarding our marriage on the 5th day after our wedding. I will begin divorce negotiations. Second, without my written permission, Longjing Group is not allowed to use the Yun Fan system for fundraising, sublicensing, or external promotion. Third, starting today, I am withdrawing my personal guarantee for the 3 overseas client channels under Su Minglan's personal account. The moment I finished speaking, Jiayin was completely stunned. Su Minglan stood up immediately. Shun Yan, have you lost your mind? I looked at her calmly. I have never been clearer. Su Jiayin finally started to panic. Mr. Shun, you can't let personal issues affect the company. I smiled. So you admit this is a personal issue? His face turned pale. I picked up my jacket and walked out. Su Minglan followed me and stopped me in the courtyard. Shin Yan, do you really have to take things this far? I stopped walking. What went too far was the lie, not my decision to leave. Her eyes became slightly red. I already told you, there is nothing between me and Su Jiayin. I looked at her. Then why did you lie to me? She opened her mouth, but no answer came out. At that moment my phone rang. It was Gu Tingxiao, the representative from the overseas client. Shin Yan, I just received the new project proposal from Longjing Group. The person responsible for the Yun Fan architecture has been changed to Su Jiayin. Did you know about this? I looked back at the brightly lit Su family mansion. Now I do. Gu Tingxiao was a very straightforward person. 3 years ago, when he visited Longjing on behalf of the overseas client, he almost canceled the entire contract. The reason was simple. Longjing's supply chain data was a complete mess. Even basic inventory numbers couldn't be matched. I spent 2 weeks rebuilding the first version of the Yunfan model from scratch, breaking down every container node and rebuilding the entire system. At 3 o'clock in the morning that day, Gu Tingxiao sat in the conference room, staring at the data flowing across the screen. Then he said, "Xin Yan, if you weren't leading this project, I wouldn't sign this contract." That was why the final agreement clearly stated, Longjing Group could operate the project, but the core architecture lead would always remain Xin Yan. That clause was never about pride. It was the foundation of the client's trust. Now Jiayin had removed my name. He had crossed the client's bottom line. I said to Gu Tingxiao, "Send me the new materials." 5 minutes later, the file arrived. I opened it. Then I laughed. They hadn't only changed the credits. They had also replaced the technical roadmap, risk analysis model, and overseas customs emergency plan that I personally created with Jiayin's so-called contributions. The document was designed beautifully. The first page of the team introduction showed Jiayin's photo. Underneath it was written, "New Generation Upgrade Lead of the Yunfan System, Special Assistant to the President of Longjing Group." I scrolled further down. On the historical contribution page, the name Xin Yan had completely disappeared. Only one vague sentence remained. Early external advisory team involved in foundational setup. I stared at those words for a long time. External advisory team. So this was how someone got erased. No knife, no confrontation, just a PowerPoint presentation. I called Lin Wantong. She answered almost immediately. "I was just about to call you," she said. Her voice sounded heavy. "The new materials have already been sent to 2 investors. The credited person is Jiayin." "Who sent them?" "The president's office." I paused. "Does Minglan know?" There was a moment of silence. "She was CC'd on the email." I opened the email details. Sure enough, Minglan's name was there. She knew, and she didn't stop it. I said quietly, "Wantong, help me export the version history of the Yunfan project from the past 3 years." She understood immediately. "You want to prove the original contribution." "Not only that." I opened the back-end permissions. "I want to prove they changed the authorized ownership without permission." Lin Wantong took a breath. "Xin Yan, once you start the accountability process, Longjing's financing roadshow next week will be completely affected." "I know. Are you sure?" I stared at Minglan's name on the screen. She knows too. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Longjing Group held an emergency project meeting. I didn't attend in person. Instead, I remotely accessed the Yunfan system backend. Inside the conference room, Minglan sat at the head of the table. Jiayin stood beside the projection screen, presenting the financing materials. On the screen was the page with his name. He spoke confidently. "The next phase of the Yunfan system upgrade will be led by me. We will focus on improving overseas warehouse response efficiency and increasing capital turnover speed." Several senior executives nodded. Someone said, "Assistant Su is young, but his ideas are very clear." Another person smiled. "President Su, you really found the right person." I watched Minglan sitting there. She didn't object. She didn't correct anything. She only lowered her head and continued flipping through the documents. Jiayin continued. "In the past, the Yunfan system still had traces of the old version. Going forward, we will completely upgrade it and reduce our dependence on external personnel." External personnel. Those 2 words hit me again. I opened the system command panel. Then I entered the first command. The conference room screen suddenly flickered. Jiayin froze. A few seconds later, a system warning appeared. Unauthorized core led change request detected. Project display permissions temporarily locked. The entire meeting room exploded into confusion. "What's happening?" Jiayin's expression changed immediately. He quickly moved the mouse, trying to fix it. Then a second alert appeared. "Original authorized party. Shun Yen Studio. Authorization status. Pending review." Everyone saw my name. Minglan suddenly looked up. Jiayin's voice became nervous. "It might be a system error. I'll contact the technical department immediately." The next second, the head of the technology department pushed open the meeting room door. His face looked pale. "Assistant Su, this is not a system error. The underlying authorization triggered the protection mechanism. We don't have the authority to unlock it." The room became completely silent. Su Minglan looked toward the camera. She knew I was watching. She picked up her phone and called me. I didn't answer. A few seconds later, she sent a message. "Unlock it first. We'll discuss this tonight." I replied, "Restore the credit first. Then we'll discuss everything through legal channels." A few seconds later, she called again. I still didn't answer. Inside the meeting room, Jiayin tried to stay calm. "President Su, this protection mechanism has never been mentioned before. It's possible Mr. Shen added it recently." I turned on my microphone. My voice instantly echoed through the entire conference room. "Sorry, but the protection mechanism was written into the third clause of the supplementary agreement 3 years ago. Assistant Su reviewed my files, so he should have seen the contract as well." Jiayin's face turned pale. Everyone looked at him. I continued, "If you signed it without reading it, that is negligence. If you read it and still signed it, that is infringement." Nobody spoke. The entire meeting room was silent. After a long pause, Su Minglan finally broke the silence. "Shen Yan, do you really have to do this in front of everyone?" I answered calmly, "President Su, you were the ones who removed my name from the meeting first." The words President Su made her expression change. Her face became even paler. For the first time, she seemed to realize that I had truly placed her back into a purely professional relationship. The meeting ended in complete chaos. Within half an hour, the news had already spread throughout Longjing Group. Everyone finally knew the truth. The real architect behind the Yunfan system was not Su Jiayin. It was the husband President Su had pushed away only 5 days after their wedding. That evening, Su Jiayin posted on his social media, "Truth will always reveal itself. People who truly work hard are not afraid of being misunderstood." After reading it, I took a screenshot and sent it directly to my lawyer. A few moments later, my lawyer replied, "Good. This can be considered continuous reputational insinuation and can be used as supporting evidence." At the end of the day, Gu Tingxiao sent me another message. "For next week's roadshow, if Longjing cannot clarify the credit issue, our overseas partners will suspend their participation." I replied, "I'll give you an explanation." But this time, it wasn't an explanation for Longjing. It was an explanation for myself. On the morning of the third day, Su Minglan finally came to see me. Not at the hotel. She came to the entrance of my studio. This was the small building I rented before our wedding. It was only 2 floors. The first floor was a meeting room. The second floor was where my technical team worked. It was nothing like the luxury and scale of Longjing Group. But every desk here, every server, every contract belonged to me. When Su Minglan stood outside the door, her expression was complicated. She rarely came here before. She always said this place was too small and too messy. She said it wasn't suitable for someone who wanted to achieve something big. But she forgot one thing. The Yunfan system was created in this exact place. This small, messy studio was where everything started. When I walked downstairs, I saw Su Jiayin standing beside her. I stopped for a moment. President Su brought him here too? Is this about business or family matters? Su Minglan frowned. Shen Yan, don't be sarcastic. I looked at Su Jiayin. Then it's business. Su Jiayin immediately put on a professional smile. Mr. Shen, yesterday was just a misunderstanding. I prepared the materials, but the credit change wasn't my personal decision. It was only done to make the financing presentation smoother. I looked at him. Who told you to make it smoother? His eyes moved toward Su Minglan. Su Minglan answered, I only agreed to let him organize the materials. Including removing my name? She didn't respond. Su Jiayin quickly stepped in. Mr. Shen, don't make things difficult for President Su. The situation was urgent. The investors were putting pressure on us. I was only trying to help the company. I nodded. Helping the company means taking someone else's work and putting your name on it? His expression changed. Is calling it stealing a little too harsh? I opened the meeting room door. Let's talk inside. Inside the meeting room, Han Ziyuan was already waiting. Lin Wantong was there as well. When Su Minglan saw them, her expression darkened. You brought legal and risk management? I sat down. When discussing business, it's better to have everyone relevant present. Su Jiayin was clearly starting to feel uncomfortable. I pushed a stack of documents to the center of the table. These are the complete version records of the Yun fan system from the past 3 years. The first document shows the initial design timestamp. The second shows the submission records for the key modules. The third contains the overseas warehouse routing optimization model. The fourth is the customs clearance risk prediction plan. Every page contained my electronic signature and timestamp. Then I played a screen recording. This is Su Jiayin's login history from last Friday to the project database. He downloaded 8 of my core plans. Then he changed the credits in the new presentation. Su Jiayin immediately stood up. I downloaded those materials for work. I looked at him. Work allows you to download files, but it does not allow you to replace the creator's name with your own. Lin Wantong pushed another document forward. Assistant Su, from page 13 to page 28 of the new presentation. The similarity with Shun Yan's original 3-year-old proposal is over 87%. Your so-called upgrade only changed the icons and rearranged the order. Su Jiayin's face turned red. He immediately looked toward Su Minglan. President Su, I was only organizing the materials. I thought all of this belonged to the company. Su Minglan's expression became serious. But this time she wasn't looking at me. She was looking at Su Jiayin. Why didn't you confirm this with me first? Su Jiayin's eyes immediately turned red. I just joined the company. There are many procedures I'm still unfamiliar with. I only wanted to help you reduce the pressure as soon as possible. Yesterday, the board was pressuring us about the financing materials. I was worried they would put too much pressure on you. Su Jiayin's voice became softer. If Mr. Shin thinks I made a mistake, I can apologize. Even withdraw from the project if necessary. It was a familiar tactic. Act weak. Pretend stolen work was just a misunderstanding caused by inexperience. Make ambition sound like helping someone share their burden. And Su Minglan was clearly starting to hesitate. I looked at her. Do you believe that? She didn't answer. I already knew. Sure enough, when she finally spoke, her voice had softened. Xin Yan, Jiayin did make a mistake, but he didn't have bad intentions. He's young and unfamiliar with the procedures. Even Lin Wantong frowned. Han Ziyuan directly looked away. I laughed. Su Minglan, do you know what you look like right now? Her expression darkened. Watch your words. I looked at her calmly. You look like a boss who knows the accounts have problems, but refuses to investigate because the accountant knows how to cry. Su Jiayin's face instantly turned pale. Su Minglan slammed her hand on the table and stood up. Xin Yan, you? I stood up as well. I gave you a chance. She froze. I continued. Last night at the Su family dinner, I asked you why you lied to me. You didn't answer. Today, I asked whether you believe him, and you used youth and inexperience as an excuse for him. So let me ask you one more question. I pushed another document in front of her. This email was sent by Su Jiayin to the investors. It says the Yun fan system was upgraded under his leadership, and I am only a historical consultant. The email was sent at 11:26 last night. Su Minglan picked up the document. Her face slowly lost color. 11:26 last night. That was right after the Su family dinner ended. Meaning Su Jiayin played the victim in front of everyone, then immediately turned around and sent emails trying to take the credit. Su Minglan finally looked at him. You sent the materials last night? Su Jiayin panicked. President Su, I was afraid the investors would become impatient. Why didn't you tell me? He had no answer. I placed the final document on the table. And this, it's a bank transfer record. The receiver is Su Jiayin. The sender account is Su Minglan's personal account. The amount is 88,000. Memo: car purchase subsidy. Su Minglan's expression changed. She clearly didn't expect me to find this. I looked at her. On the 5th day of our marriage, my wife told me she was already home. But instead, she left with her male assistant. The car that assistant drives was paid for with a subsidy from my wife's personal account. The entire conference room became silent. Su Jiayin immediately explained. That was just President Su rewarding me for working overtime. It's not what you think. I looked at Su Minglan. You rewarding your assistant is your choice. I don't care. But you lying to me? That matters. Her lips moved slightly. Her voice became much quieter. Xin Yan, I can explain the money. I shook my head. No need. I picked up the documents. The Yun Fan System Authorization Review starts now. Within 72 hours, all external display permissions for Longjing Group will be suspended. Su Minglan's head immediately lifted. The roadshow is next week. I looked at her. So you have 72 hours to fix this. She stared at me. What if I don't? I answered calmly. Then I will. As I walked out of the conference room, Su Jiayin suddenly spoke behind me. Mr. Shen, do you really think President Su will come back to you this way? I stopped. His voice lowered. She's just angry right now. Once the project crisis is over, she'll still choose me. Because she needs someone who can stand beside her. Not someone like you who only knows how to threaten her with contracts. I turned around and looked at him. Su Jiayin, what you should actually fear isn't who she chooses. It's the moment she realizes you were never worth choosing. The Longjing Group financing roadshow was scheduled for Friday. The stakes were enormous. If successful, Longjing could secure a new round of $1.6 billion in funding. If it failed, the overseas warehouse expansion plan would collapse under cash flow pressure. This project was Su Minglan's biggest concern. I knew that, and she knew it too. I wasn't threatening her. I was taking back what belonged to me. 2 days before the roadshow, Su Minglan stopped coming to find me. But Su Jiayin became even more active. He started spreading rumors throughout the company. He claimed I was intentionally delaying the project because of our marriage problems. He said I couldn't accept Su Minglan promoting new talent. He told people I was using old contracts to force the company to surrender. When the rumors finally reached me, I was already organizing the evidence. Lin Wantong sat across from me, laughing in frustration. He really thinks nobody in the company knows who built Yun Fan. I looked at her. Knowing something and daring to speak about it are two different things. She fell silent. In a large company, the truth is rarely invisible. The problem is that many people see it, then first decide which side is safer to stand on. Before this, they believed Su Minglan was the safer choice. Now, they weren't sure whether I could win. So everyone was waiting. I didn't blame them. That was just human nature. That afternoon, Han Ziyuan sent me a screenshot of an internal company chat. In the CEO office group, Su Jiayin had written, Mr. Shun is emotionally unstable right now. Everyone should avoid provoking him. I'll find a way to stabilize the Yun Fan project. Someone replied, Assistant Su, thank you for your hard work. Another person wrote, Men really become scary when they're jealous. I saved the screenshot. Then I forwarded it to my lawyer. A few seconds later, my lawyer replied with one word. Enough. At 8 o'clock that night, Su Minglan finally called. Her voice sounded exhausted. Xin Yan, come to the roadshow tomorrow. I asked, in what capacity? She paused. As the original architect of the Yun Fan system. Not as a historical external consultant. The line went quiet for a long time. I'll have the marketing department change it back. What about Su Jiayin? He won't present the Yun Fan section anymore. That's all. She tried to control her emotions. What else do you want? I answered calmly. Publicly clarify the mistake in the credit attribution. Withdraw all materials already sent to investors. Remove Su Jiayin from the Yun Fan project team. and have risk control investigate the download records of the project materials. The phone became silent. After a few seconds, she asked, "Do you really have to destroy him?" I closed my eyes. That sentence completely ended the last bit of hope I had. Even now, she was still worried about whether Jiayin would be ruined, not about how I felt when my name was erased. I asked her, "Minglan, if the person whose name disappeared today was you, what would you do?" She didn't answer, so I answered for her. "You would make that person leave the company." Her controlled breathing came through the phone. I continued, "I'm not asking him to leave. I'm only asking him to step away from the project. And you already think I'm being too harsh." There was silence. Then she finally said, "Jiayin, I'll be there tomorrow." I interrupted her. "Not for you. For my project." The next day, the roadshow was held at a hotel in the city center. Investors, business partners, and media representatives were all present. Minglan stood on stage wearing a black suit. She was still the powerful and confident CEO everyone knew. Jiayin didn't go on stage, but he sat in the first row of the audience. His expression was dark. When I entered the venue, many people turned to look at me. In the past, during events like this, I always stayed behind the scenes. Minglan stood in the spotlight, presenting the results. I was the person quietly holding everything together. But today, for the first time, I walked to the front. Gu Tingxiao noticed me and immediately stood up to shake my hand. "Jiayin, long time no see." Many people noticed that moment. Their expressions changed instantly. Gu Tingxiao was not just an ordinary client representative. He represented the most important overseas channel partner in this financing round. Him standing up for me was a public sign of trust. Minglan saw it too. A complicated emotion flashed through her eyes. The roadshow began. The first half went smoothly, until the Yun fan system section. Minglan paused. Then she looked down at me in the audience. The Yun fan system is the core foundation that allowed Longjing Group's overseas business to restart. Its original architect is Jiayin. On the large screen behind her, my name appeared again. A small wave of discussion spread through the venue. Jiayin's face became even darker. Minglan continued, "There was an inaccuracy in the previous credit attribution materials. Longjing Group has already started an internal review." She didn't mention Jiayin's name. That was exactly what I expected. She still wanted to protect him. But the investors were not fools. During the Q&A session, the first investor immediately asked, "President Su, since the underlying authorization of the Yun fan system does not belong to Longjing Group, how will the system stability be guaranteed after financing?" Minglan looked at me. This was the real reason she asked me to come today. She needed me to personally reassure them. I picked up the microphone. "The authorization agreement between the Yun fan system and Longjing Group is still valid. As long as Longjing follows the authorization boundaries, the stability of the system will not be affected." Minglan quietly let out a breath of relief. But my next sentence made her expression change again. "However, Longjing Group has recently had cases where project credits were modified without authorization and external materials contained inaccurate information. I have already requested legal intervention. Based on the investigation results, I will decide whether to continue opening future upgrade permissions." The entire venue became silent. I wasn't trying to destroy her. I was simply putting the risk in front of everyone. The investor continued asking, "So does this mean Longjing Group currently has internal management issues?" I placed the microphone back on the table. "That is a question President Su should answer." Every person in the room looked at Minglan. She stood on the stage, her face pale. For the first time, I had pushed her into a position where she had to take responsibility. Before this, whenever anyone questioned her, I was always the person standing behind her. I protected her. I solved the problems. Not today. Minglan held the microphone tightly. After 2 seconds of silence, she finally spoke. "Longjing Group will provide a written rectification report within 48 hours. Then Gu Tingxiao stepped forward. "The overseas partners accept the rectification." But on one condition. Jiayin must continue serving as the authorized representative responsible for Yun Fan System project supervision. The moment those words were spoken, the atmosphere in the venue completely changed. From that moment forward, I was no longer Su Minglan's husband. I was no longer just a former consultant. I was someone this project could not ignore. After the roadshow ended, Jiayin stopped me backstage. His expression looked terrible. "Are you satisfied?" I looked at him. "Not yet." He clenched his teeth. "You're just relying on an old system." I smiled. "Then why couldn't you even steal that old system properly?" His expression changed. He raised his hand as if he wanted to grab my collar. The next second, Gu Tingxiao's assistant walked over. "Mr. Su, there are cameras backstage." Jiayin's hand froze in midair. I looked down at my phone. The recording was still running. At that moment, Su Minglan walked out from backstage. She saw Jiayin's raised hand. She also saw the recording interface on my phone. And finally, she understood. I wasn't acting out of anger. I had been collecting evidence from the very beginning. After the roadshow, Longjing's financing did not immediately fail. But it did not succeed either. The investors demanded a supplementary rectification report. The overseas partners required me to join the project oversight committee. The board demanded Su Minglan explain her decision to bring Jiayin into the project. The pressure suddenly fell entirely on her. Su Minglan finally panicked. But her first reaction wasn't to solve the problem. It was to bring me back. That night, she came to my studio herself. I was in a meeting with the technical team when she suddenly pushed open the conference room door. Everyone stopped. She looked at me. Her voice was quiet. "Jiayin, let's talk." I closed my laptop. "The meeting isn't finished." She stood at the door, clearly not used to hearing those words from me. Before this, whenever she called, I would put everything aside. Even at 2 o'clock in the morning, if she said, "My stomach hurts," I would drive across the city just to bring her medicine. But now I simply told her, "The meeting isn't over." She stood there for a long time without moving. Lin Wantong understood the situation and quietly stood up. I raised my hand. "Continue." Su Minglan looked embarrassed, but she stayed. She listened as we discussed the system upgrade schedule, permission isolation plans, and risk control models. Half an hour later, the meeting ended. I asked the team to leave first. Only then did Su Minglan sit down. She looked at the cold coffee sitting on the table. Her voice sounded tired. "Jiayin, you never used to treat me like this." I looked at her. "You never used to lie to me." Her eyes immediately turned red. "I admit I was wrong. I shouldn't have taken Jiayin's car that day. And I shouldn't have lied to you." This was the first time she admitted she was wrong. But it came too late. I asked, "What about the credit issue?" She pressed her lips together. "I'm responsible for that too." "What about Jiayin?" "I'll suspend him for a week." I laughed. "Suspended for a week?" She quickly explained. "The company is already unstable. If I fire him now, outsiders will think Longjing has serious internal problems." I looked at her. "So you're still protecting him?" Her expression looked like she was about to break down. "Jiayin, can you try to understand my position? I'm the CEO, not just your wife. Every decision I make has to consider the company." I looked at her. "Then when you got into his car, did you consider the company?" Her face instantly turned pale. I continued, "When you used your personal account to subsidize his car purchase, did you consider the company?" She clenched her hands. "That money wasn't what you think." "Then what was it?" For the first time, she finally told me the truth. "His mother is sick. His family is struggling. I was just helping him." I nodded. "You can help him." She looked up at me. "But you can't help him while lying to me." Tears slowly fell from her eyes. "Jiayin, nothing really happened between me and him." I stayed silent. Maybe that sentence was true. But betrayal didn't need to end in a relationship to count. Favoritism, hiding the truth, crossing boundaries, allowing someone else to disrespect your partner. All of those things together were enough to destroy a marriage. I pushed the tissue box toward her. Su Minglan, our problem isn't whether something happened between you and him. She looked at me. Then what is it? I looked directly at her. It's that in your heart. I became someone who could be sacrificed. She froze. I stood up. I've already signed the divorce papers. Read them carefully. If you have any questions, let the lawyers handle everything. She suddenly grabbed my wrist. I'm not signing. I looked down at her hand. Let go. She refused. Jiayin, I don't agree to this divorce. I slowly pulled my hand away. Whether you agree or not only affects the process. It doesn't change the result. Those words seemed to hurt her more than anything else. Her face instantly turned white. The next day, an anonymous post appeared inside Longjing Group. The headline was shocking. CEO's new husband interferes in company financing out of jealousy. Yun fan project becomes a victim of marital conflict. The post portrayed me as a controlling husband. It claimed I forced Su Minglan to remove her male assistant after marriage. It even hinted that I used my relationship with her to gain control of the project and pressure Longjing Group. The article was written cleverly. There wasn't a single obvious lie. But every sentence pushed people toward one conclusion. That I was a dependent husband. Petty. Emotional. The post spread quickly. Su Minglan called me. Her voice sounded urgent. I didn't post it. I answered calmly. I know. She was stunned. You know? Su Jiayin's writing style is too obvious. She went silent. I continued. But the fact that he could post it means someone gave him access to the internal forum. Her breathing became heavier. I'll investigate. No need. I already checked the back-end logs. I found it. The account used temporary CEO office permissions. The authorization came from you. She quickly explained. I gave him that permission before so he could handle company notifications. Not so he could post something like this. I said, Su Minglan, this is the result of you protecting him. She had nothing to say. I collected the screenshots, back-end records, and authorization history. Then I sent everything to Han Ziyuan. Start a reputation infringement case and internal misconduct review. He replied immediately. Understood. That afternoon, the forum post was deleted. But before it disappeared, I had already collected the complete sharing and spreading records. Su Jiayin was called in by the Risk Control Department for questioning. He came out with a pale face, but Su Minglan still didn't fire him. At the end of the day, Lin Wantong sent me a surveillance audio recording. It was Su Jiayin talking in the break room. Jiayin won't last long. President Su is soft-hearted. If I act like the victim a little more, she'll definitely keep me. Then the Yun Fan project will still belong to me. I listened to the recording, saved it. Then I sent Su Minglan a message. Tomorrow at 3 p.m. Before the board meeting, I'll give you a gift. She replied, What gift? I looked at the audio file. The truth you've been refusing to see. The day before the board meeting, Su Minglan finally agreed to let Risk Control conduct a full investigation into Su Jiayin. But before that, she added one sentence. Jiayin, if it turns out he only made a mistake and didn't do it intentionally, can you let it go? I looked at her. Then I asked, I only have one question. Who will let me go? She said nothing. The evidence Su Jiayin left behind was more than I expected. Not because he was careless, because he was impatient. When someone is desperate to climb higher, they forget to hide their own footprints. Lin Wantong placed the evidence one piece at a time in front of me. First, after Su Jiayin joined the company, he repeatedly downloaded old Yun Fan project materials. Most of them happened late at night. Second, he used his personal email to send revised versions of the presentation to external investment advisors. Third, he used CEO office permissions to post on the internal forum and influence public opinion. Fourth, he privately contacted the marketing department and demanded that every mention of Jiayin in the interview drafts be replaced with the president's office project team. Fifth, He also sent a long message to Su Minglan. The content was, "Mr. Shun might not like me being involved in the project, but I'll work hard to prove myself and won't let you down." On the surface, those words sounded humble. But in reality, they were planting seeds of doubt. He was slowly making Su Minglan believe that my opposition to him had nothing to do with rules or the project. It was only jealousy. After reading everything, I asked Lin Wanong, "Anything else?" Her expression became complicated. "There's a recording." "Who gave it to you?" "Aunt Chen." I paused. Aunt Chen was the housekeeper who had worked for the Su family for many years. She had no involvement in the company and knew nothing about these business conflicts. Lin Wantong played the recording. First came the sound of the doorbell, then Su Jiayin's voice. "Aunt Chen, Mr. Su will be back late tonight. Keep the hangover soup warm." Aunt Chen asked, "Is Madam drinking again tonight?" Master said yesterday her stomach was already uncomfortable. Su Jiayin laughed softly. "Mr. Shun is too controlling. President Su has so much pressure. After marriage, she shouldn't lose all her freedom, right?" Aunt Chen didn't respond. Su Jiayin continued, "By the way, Aunt Chen, does Mr. Shin usually not do much at home? After marrying President Su, is he basically living off her?" Aunt Chen's voice immediately became cold. "Master used to work 3 days straight without sleeping. Many of Madam's company projects were helped by Master." Su Jiayin paused. "Is that true? But outside, everyone says Mr. Shun can't keep up with Longjing's growth anymore." The recording ended there. I leaned back in my chair. Then I suddenly laughed. So he had even tested the housekeeper. He wanted to know how much influence I still had in Su Minglan's life. Then little by little, he planned to replace me. First carrying her bag, then driving her car, then handling her documents, and finally changing the way she saw me, turning me into the outdated person, the controlling husband, the burden holding her back. Why was Su Minglan affected by him? Because the seed of doubt was already there. Su Jiayin only watered it. At 3 p.m. inside the small board meeting room, Su Minglan sat at the head of the table. Su Jiayin sat in the observer seat. Today he looked completely different. The sharp confidence from a few days ago was gone. When he saw me enter, he even stood up. "Mr. Shun, I crossed a line before. I'm willing to apologize." I ignored him. On the other side sat Chairman Su Baichuan, Su Minglan's father. He had never liked me. He always believed I wasn't impressive enough and didn't deserve Su Minglan. Before, I never cared enough to argue. Today, his eyes were still full of judgment. "Xin Yan, bringing this matter into a board meeting doesn't benefit anyone." I nodded. "Then let's settle everything today." Su Baichuan frowned. "Young man, don't be too aggressive." I placed a USB drive on the table. "Chairman Su, make your judgment after watching this." The lights in the meeting room dimmed. The first section showed the submission records of the original Yunfan system. Every entry carried my name. The second section showed Su Jiayin's timeline. Downloading, copying, editing, changing the materials. The third section was the similarity comparison between the new presentation and my original work. The fourth section showed the back-end permission records for the anonymous posts. The fifth section played the break room recording. Su Jiayin's voice echoed through the room. "As long as I act a little more pitiful, she'll definitely keep me here." Su Minglan's face turned completely pale. Su Jiayin suddenly stood up. That recording was edited. Lin Wantong immediately opened the forensic report. Third-party audio analysis confirms there are no signs of editing. Su Jiayin's lips trembled. He looked toward Su Minglan. "President Su, you have to believe me. I was only venting. I was under too much pressure." Su Minglan didn't say anything. I played the final clip. It was the parking lot surveillance footage. In the video, Su Minglan stood outside the office. Before getting into Su Jiayin's car, she looked down at her phone. The screen zoomed in. It showed my message. "I'm downstairs waiting for you." She read it. She didn't reply. A few seconds later, she typed, "I'm already home." Then she got into Su Jiayin's car. The meeting room became completely silent. You could hear every breath. This video had nothing to do with company interests, but it destroyed the last excuse. Minglan stared at the screen. Her eyes slowly turned red. Jiayin tried to explain again. That day, President Su I cut him off. Shut up. This was the first time I had ever told him to shut up in public. He froze. Then he looked at Minglan. You still think he's just young, doesn't understand the process, and had no bad intentions? Minglan's lips trembled. She didn't answer. I continued. He stole my project. He helped spread rumors about me. He tested Aunt Chun. He tried to create distance between us. None of this happened by accident. Every step of the way, you saw the warning signs. But every single time, you chose to make excuses for him. Minglan lowered her head. Jiayin finally panicked. President Su, I really didn't mean to ruin things between you and him. I just like you. I wanted to help you. The moment those words came out, everyone in the meeting room changed expressions. Like you. He finally admitted it. Minglan suddenly looked up. Jiayin, do you even know what you're saying? His eyes turned red. I know I shouldn't have said it, but I can't control it. I see you working so hard every day, and Mr. Shen keeps putting pressure on you. It hurts me to watch. I laughed. Even now, he was still trying to perform his final act of loyalty. I stood up and placed another document in front of Su Baichuan. Chairman Su, this is Jiayin's contact history with Shenga Capital before he joined Longjing. Jiayin's face instantly turned pale. Minglan froze too. I opened the email screenshots. Before joining Longjing, he sent his resume to someone at Shenga Capital. After joining the company, he used his personal email to forward Longjing's financing schedule and project material list to them. Jiayin shouted, "That's not a trade secret." I looked at him. "That's for legal to decide." Han Ziyuan immediately added, "This is enough to start an internal investigation and request a legal assessment." Jiayin's legs weakened slightly. He grabbed the back of a chair. A moment ago, he was confessing his feelings. Now, all that remained on his face was fear. At the end of the meeting, Minglan finally stood up. Her voice was hoarse. Jiayin, effective immediately, you are suspended pending investigation." I looked at her. Only suspension? She met my eyes. Tears were already forming. Xinyan. I picked up my laptop. You still can't bring yourself to deal with it completely. Then I turned and walked away. Behind me, she took 2 steps forward. I didn't look back. After Jiayin was suspended, Longjing Group appeared calm for the next 2 days. But the real storm had only just begun. Soon, news came from Shenga Capital. They had already obtained some of the information. I laughed when I heard it. Before, they said I was only Minglan's husband. Now, they said the project needed me. People were always like this. When they couldn't see your value, they treated you like extra weight. But when they were about to fall, they remembered you were the support keeping them standing. I still went back. Not for the Su family. I went to settle the final score. At the board meeting on the 27th floor of Longjing headquarters, the entire room was filled with directors. Minglan sat at the head of the table. Her face looked pale. It was obvious she hadn't slept properly for several days. Jiayin didn't attend. But his investigation report was placed in front of every director. The report showed that he had indeed forwarded some non-public company materials through his personal email. Although the final loss assessment was not completed yet, it was already enough for the board to question Minglan's management decisions. One director immediately spoke. "President Su, you placed an assistant who had only worked here for 2 months into a core project and allowed him access to financing materials. How do you explain that responsibility?" Another director followed. More importantly, why was Shun Yan's authorization issue ignored? If he hadn't locked the system permissions, Longjing might have gone into the roadshow with incorrect materials. Minglan held her pen tightly. "I accept responsibility for this management mistake." The old director looked at her coldly. Responsibility is not just something you say. If next quarter's financing fails, who will carry the pressure from the cash flow problems? The entire meeting room became tense. Su Baichuan looked at me. Shen Yan, speak. Everyone turned toward me. I opened my file. I have 3 points. First, the Yunfan system can continue to be licensed to Longjing, but a supplementary agreement must be signed with additional supervision clauses. Second, all external project materials must go through joint review by my team and Longjing's legal department. Third, all violations related to Su Jiayin must be handed over to legal. There will be no internal leniency. Su Minglan suddenly looked up. She understood what the third point meant. No leniency. This time she had no room left to protect him. Su Baichuan remained silent for several seconds. Then he finally said, "Fine." Su Minglan's face became even paler. She wasn't unaware of what was happening. From the moment Su Baichuan nodded, a part of her absolute authority as CEO had been taken away. And the painful part was that she had given up that power herself. I continued, "There is also a personal matter I need to clarify here." A few people in the meeting room frowned. I took out a copy of the divorce agreement. Su Minglan and I have already entered divorce negotiations. To prevent anyone from confusing our marital relationship with the Yunfan project authorization, I will clearly state in the agreement that the Yunfan project authorization is not marital property and will not be affected by our marital status. The entire room froze. Su Minglan's face instantly lost all color. Shun Yan. For the first time, she lost control of her emotions during a board meeting. I didn't look at her. I simply placed the agreement on the table. This is also the safest option for Longjing. One director nodded. It should be separated clearly. Another added, personal matters cannot continue affecting the project. Su Minglan sat there silently. It felt like everyone had forced her to face reality. She once thought that as long as she refused to sign, I couldn't leave. But now, even the board was saying the relationship needed to be cut cleanly. Only then did she truly understand. My leaving was no longer just an emotional decision. It had become a rational choice supported by everyone involved. Before the meeting ended, Han Ziyuan announced that Su Jiayin would be officially terminated, and that the investigation into the data leak would continue. Su Minglan didn't object. She couldn't. After the meeting, she stopped me in the hallway. "Did you really have to mention the divorce in the board meeting?" I stopped walking. "You can remove my name from company documents. So why can't I clarify my status in a board meeting?" Tears appeared in her eyes. "I know I was wrong." I looked at her. "You know you were wrong because you lost control of the situation." Her expression froze. I continued, "If Yunfan hadn't locked the permissions, if the investors hadn't pressured you, if Su Jiayin hadn't made mistakes, would you have still realized you were wrong?" She couldn't answer, because the answer was obvious. No. She would have continued believing I was overreacting, that I was being unreasonable, that I was fighting with an assistant over nothing. I walked past her toward the elevator. Suddenly, she grabbed me from behind and hugged me. "Shen Yan, don't go." There were still employees in the hallway. Everyone froze. The CEO of Longjing Group was hugging the husband who had moved out only 5 days after their wedding. Right there inside the company. That scene alone was enough to become tomorrow's biggest gossip. The woman who once cared most about appearances had finally lost control of them. But I simply removed her hands. "Ms. Su, please have some self-respect." Those words hit her harder than anything else. She stood frozen as the elevator doors closed. Through the closing gap, I saw her standing alone in the hallway, tears finally falling from her eyes. At the end of the day, I received a message from Aunt Chun. "Sir, Madam stayed in the master bedroom all night yesterday. She put the wedding photo back on the table and kept asking me if you used to wait for her until late." I stared at the message, but there was no satisfaction in my heart. Only exhaustion. People always start searching for the past after they lose it. But the past they find can never bring back the person they pushed away. Su Jiayin's case soon had new developments. His story about his mother being sick and needing urgent money was a lie. His mother's health was indeed not good, but it was nowhere near needing an emergency operation. The 88,000 yuan Su Minglan gave him wasn't used for medical expenses. It went toward a car down payment and a luxury watch. That same watch. He had worn it in front of me before. Back then, he said, President Su believes people around her shouldn't look too ordinary. I didn't respond at the time, but looking back now, every provocation from him wasn't random. He knew exactly what special treatment from Su Minglan would do. He wanted me to lose control, because once I lost my temper, he could label me as controlling, as unreasonable, as someone with emotional problems. Unfortunately for him, I never gave him that chance. The day the investigation report was released, Su Minglan came to see me. She carried a file folder. Inside were Su Jiayin's spending records, email history, and chat logs. She sat across from me. Her voice was unusually soft. He's been lying to me this entire time. I didn't say anything. She continued. He said his mother was sick, and I believed him. He said you didn't like him because you were afraid he would take away my trust. And I believed that too. I looked at her. You didn't believe him. She looked up. I continued. You believed what you wanted to believe. Her eyes turned red. What do you mean? You always thought I was too controlling. You felt like I was interfering with your authority at the company. You believed that after marriage, I would start demanding more from you. That's why when Su Jiayin told you I had a controlling personality, it sounded reasonable. Her face slowly turned pale. I continued. If you never had those thoughts inside you, he wouldn't have been able to create a distance between us. Those words hit her hard. But this time she didn't argue. After a long silence, she suddenly asked, When did you start losing hope? I thought for a moment. Not in the parking lot. She froze. I said, It was the day after our wedding. The day after we got married. Su Minglan received a call from the board and rushed back to the company. I didn't blame her. I knew she was busy. That night, she told me she had a business dinner and didn't come home until 11 o'clock. I was waiting in the living room. She smelled like alcohol. Su Jiayin had driven her back. At that time, he was still just her new assistant. He helped her walk through the door and smiled at me. Mr. Shen, President Su drank quite a bit tonight. Don't blame her. The way he said it made it sound like he had more right than me to explain my wife's life. I looked at Su Minglan. She didn't notice anything wrong. She only said, Jiayin helped me block a lot of drinks tonight. I made hangover soup for her. She drank it. Then she went upstairs and slept. The next day, I reminded her, an assistant shouldn't cross the boundary into our personal life. But she replied, Xin Yan, don't start acting like a husband just because we're married. I remembered those words clearly. When Su Minglan heard this, tears immediately fell. I don't remember saying that. Of course you don't. I looked at her. People who hurt others usually don't remember the things they say. She lowered her head and covered her face. I didn't comfort her. She cried for a long time. When she finally looked up again, her voice was hoarse. Why didn't you argue with me back then? I answered, I did. She froze. I opened my phone and showed her our chat history. On the third day after our wedding, I sent her, Minglan, I don't like Su Jiayin crossing work boundaries into our private life. You can have an assistant, but marriage needs basic respect. Her reply was only 4 words. You're overthinking. On the 4th day after our wedding, I sent another message. Don't give the new assistant access to Yun Fan project files. At least let legal review it first. Her reply, he's my assistant. I'll decide. On the 5th day after our wedding, I said, I'm downstairs. I'll pick you up. Her reply, I'm already home. 3 days. 3 chances. 1 was about emotional boundaries. 1 was about work boundaries. 1 was about honesty. She ignored all 3. Su Minglan stared at the messages. Her tears kept falling. She finally understood. I hadn't left suddenly. I had only stopped reminding her after too many times being ignored. She reached out to touch my phone. Pulled it away. These records will be included in the divorce documents. Her hand stopped in midair. Jiayin, do you have to be this cold? I looked at her. I used to be warm. Those words completely broke her. Her expression collapsed. At that moment my phone rang. It was Han Ziyuan. Jiayin, Jiayin contacted the media. He's planning to leak that you have an unclear relationship with Lin Wantong. He wants to use it to pressure Minglan into divorcing you and take control of the project. I glanced at Minglan. She heard everything. She immediately stood up. What else does he want? I turned on speaker. Han Ziyuan continued. He has some photos of you and Lin Wantong at the studio. The angles make it look suspicious. But we found out he hired someone to take them intentionally. Minglan's face turned completely pale. For the first time she saw clearly. The person she had been protecting was now attacking everyone around him. I asked, has the media published it yet? Not yet. We stopped one outlet, but I'm not sure if he has other copies. I replied, don't stop it. Han Ziyuan was shocked. What? Let him release it. Minglan immediately panicked. Jiayin. I looked at her. If he doesn't release it, how will everyone see the truth? At 8 p.m. that night, an exposé suddenly appeared online. Inside the Longjing CEO's divorce, husband suspected of colluding with female executive to seize power. The photos showed Lin Wantong and me sitting inside a meeting room. The angle was carefully chosen. All the other people in the room had been cropped out. Minglan called me immediately. This time her voice was shaking. Jiayin, I'll handle this. I looked at the complete meeting surveillance footage already prepared on my computer. This time you don't need to. 10 minutes after the article was published, my studio account released the full video. The video showed everything. It wasn't just Lin Wantong and me. The technical team was there. Han Ziyuan from legal was there. The assistant of the overseas client representative was also there. The entire meeting was about reviewing the Yunfan system authorization and permissions. Every conversation was clear. There was nothing to hide. Immediately afterward, Lin Wantong released a lawyer's statement under her own name. Her words were direct. I am married, and my husband is a university professor. Anyone who maliciously spreads rumors will be held legally responsible. That statement completely changed the situation. Public opinion quickly turned around. People began investigating the source of the exposé. Soon, someone noticed that the writing style of the account was extremely similar to the anonymous post that had appeared inside Longjing before. This time, Jiayin couldn't hide anymore. Late that night, Longjing's legal department officially filed a lawsuit against him. Multiple accusations followed. Data leakage, reputation infringement, commercial defamation. Minglan no longer defended him. But she also had no chance to prove she had nothing to do with it. Because everyone saw one thing clearly. I had solved the problem myself. The next day, the divorce mediation took place at the law firm. When I arrived, Minglan was already sitting inside the conference room. She looked different. Simple clothes, no makeup. When she saw me enter, she immediately stood up. Jiayin. I nodded. President Su. Her face instantly became pale. Can we not talk like this? I placed the documents on the table. Let's discuss the agreement today. She stared at me for a long time. Then she slowly sat down. The lawyer began explaining every clause. We had only been married for 5 days. Our assets were basically separate. The prenuptial agreement was already very clear. There was almost no shared property. The only things that needed to be handled were the wedding expenses, the shared residence, and some gifts she had given me after marriage that I never accepted. I gave up all of them. When Minglan heard that, she suddenly looked up. You're not taking anything? I answered, no. Her voice trembled. Then why did you marry me? I looked at her. That question was so unbelievable that I almost laughed. Because I used to want to build a life with you. Her eyes immediately filled with tears. Used to. Those 2 words hurt her more than any accusation. The lawyer continued. The Yunfan project authorization will be handled through a separate commercial agreement. It will not be considered marital property. As Su Minglan listened, she suddenly interrupted. What if I don't agree to the divorce? Her lawyer looked uncomfortable. My lawyer remained calm. Ms. Su, you have the right to refuse a mutual divorce. However, Mr. Shun has sufficient evidence showing the relationship has broken down. This includes major concealment after marriage, continuous disputes, separation records, communication records, and witnesses. A lawsuit will not change the final result. It will only make the process more painful. Su Minglan looked at me. Are you really going to take me to court? I replied, I want this to end with dignity. She gave a bitter smile. Dignity? She lowered her eyes toward the agreement. The most embarrassing moments of my life were all seen by you. I didn't answer. After a long silence, she spoke again. Xinyan, the reason I got into Su Jiayin's car that day was because I was scared. I looked up. Her voice became very soft. After we got married, I suddenly didn't know how to face you. Before, you were my support, my safety net. But after marriage, I felt like you would see every weakness I had. I was afraid of losing the image of being the strong CEO. I was afraid I wouldn't be the person everyone admired anymore. Su Jiayin was different. He admired me. He praised me. In front of him, I was always President Su. Tears fell onto the paper. I know it sounds ridiculous, but at that time, I was really trapped by that feeling. After hearing everything, I only said, so you chose the person who made you feel comfortable, and you hurt the person who made you face your true self. That completely broke her. She collapsed emotionally. I'm sorry. The conference room stayed silent. She kept saying it over and over. She apologized for the lie in the parking lot, for Su Jiayin, for the project credit issue, for not defending me at the Su family dinner, and for disappointing me again and again. I didn't interrupt her. I didn't say anything. When she finally finished, I pushed the pen toward her. Sign it. She stared at the pen like it was something sharp enough to cut her. After I sign this, will you ever look back? I looked at her. No. Her hand holding the pen started shaking. Xinyan, I loved you. I nodded. I loved you too. For a brief moment, her eyes lit up. Then I continued. That's why I didn't destroy you from the beginning. I gave you a chance. I gave you respect. I gave you dignity. That small hope in her eyes disappeared. She finally understood. I admitted that I had loved her, but that was all that remained. When she signed, her hand trembled badly. After writing the final character, she covered her mouth and let out a quiet sob. I signed my name quickly. The two words, Shen Yan, appeared clearly on the paper. The lawyer collected the documents. The agreement process will be handled by both parties' legal representatives from now on. I stood up. Su Minglan stood as well. She looked like she wanted to reach for me, but she stopped herself. Xinyan, can I have one last hug? I looked at her. No. Her tears fell again. I picked up my coat and walked toward the door. Behind me, she suddenly asked, if I hadn't lied that day, if I had come downstairs, seen you waiting, and gotten into your car, would we have ended up differently? I stopped for a moment. There are no ifs. I opened the door. The hallway light came in. I didn't turn back. At the end of the day, my phone vibrated. It was a photo from Aunt Chin. Inside the wedding house, all my belongings had been removed. The left side of the wardrobe was completely empty. Aunt Chin wrote, Sir, Madam stood there for a long time. I deleted the photo. Then I removed Aunt Chen's number from the family group chat. That home no longer had anything to do with me. After the divorce process was completed, Longjing Group also went through a complete internal review. Su Jiayin was officially fired because of the data leak. He not only had to pay compensation, but he was also blacklisted by several major companies in the industry. He once thought he could climb higher by relying on Su Minglan. Now, even finding a normal assistant position became difficult. I later heard that he blocked Su Minglan's car outside the Su family mansion. It was raining heavily that day. He knelt in front of the car and kept saying that he loved her too much. Su Minglan never stepped out. The driver simply drove around him and left. When I heard about it, I only found it ironic. Back then, she thought I was too cold because I didn't believe his tears. Now she finally understood. Some tears were not regret. They were just another way to get something. Longjing Group's financing was delayed for 2 months. It was eventually completed, but the terms were much stricter than before. The board required the creation of a project supervision committee. The cloud sale system would now be maintained jointly by my studio and Longjing. Su Minglan kept her position as president, but she no longer had absolute control. Her father, Su Baichuan, personally came to sign the supplementary agreement with me. That day, he was completely different from the arrogant attitude he had shown at the Su family dinner. He even poured tea for me. Jiayin, the Su family had some misunderstandings about you before. I accepted the tea. They can still have them now. He gave a bitter smile. You're still the same person. I looked at him. I've always been like this. I was just willing to give Minglan respect before. Su Baichuan stayed quiet for a long time. Finally, he said, "She hasn't been doing well lately." I didn't respond. He sighed. "She regrets it." I closed the contract folder. Chairman Su, there's no need to discuss anything beyond our cooperation. He looked at me for a long time. Then he finally nodded. Understood. I thought everything was finally over. Until 1 month later, at Longjing Group's mid-year client appreciation event. I attended as the representative of the cloud sales systems licensing partner. It wasn't a personal gathering. It was business. So I had no reason to refuse. The venue was the same hotel, but this time, when Su Minglan stood on stage to introduce the cloud sale project, she no longer kept me hidden behind the scenes. In front of all the clients and board members, she said, the cloud sale system would not have achieved what it has today without its core architect, Mr. Jiayin. In the past, Longjing made serious mistakes in project management and hurt the people who truly created value. Today, on behalf of Longjing, I formally apologize to Mr. Jiayin. The entire room filled with applause. Many people looked in my direction. I sat in the audience, my expression calm. This apology had come very late. Too late to change what had already happened. But I accepted it. Not because I had forgiven her, but because I deserved that apology. After the event ended, Su Minglan found me on the terrace. The night wind was cold. She had lost a lot of weight. The sharp confidence and strong attitude she once carried were gone. What remained was only exhaustion. She handed me a small box. I didn't take it. She said quietly, "It's not a gift. It's your ring." I glanced at it. It was the wedding ring I had left on the bedside table the night I walked out of the wedding house. She had kept it all this time. I said, "Throw it away." Her hand trembled. "Jiayin, it doesn't mean anything to me anymore." She looked down at the ring, tears slowly gathering in her eyes. Sometimes I think, if I had come home earlier that night, if I had come to find you the moment I saw your empty wardrobe, if I hadn't protected Su Jiayin again and again. I interrupted her. "Su Minglan." She looked up. I said, "You didn't lose just one opportunity. You pushed me away with every single choice you made." Her tears fell. This time, she didn't ask me to come back. She didn't ask about any what-ifs. She only whispered, "I know." I turned and walked away from the balcony. When I reached the doorway, she suddenly said, "Jiayin, I hope you can be free from now on." I stopped. I didn't turn around. "Thank you." 3 months later, my studio completed its independent funding round. The cloud sales system was upgraded into a standalone platform and was no longer limited to serving only Longjing. Lin Wantong joined the Risk Control Committee. Han Ziyuan became an external legal consultant. Gu Tingshuan brought in new overseas clients. I was no longer someone else's hidden advantage. I finally stood on my own stage. During an interview, a reporter asked me why I chose to separate from the Longjing system. I replied, "Because a truly stable partnership should never depend on marriage to hold it together, and it shouldn't require sacrificing feelings just to maintain it." The reporter asked again, "So how do you see your past marriage now?" I thought for a moment. It taught me that in any relationship, respect matters more than love. After the interview, I walked out of the building. The sky was clear. There were no missed calls from Su Minglan on my phone. No messages from the Su family. No one telling me, "Don't make a scene." No one asking me to bury my feelings just to keep things peaceful. The car was waiting by the roadside. The driver asked where I wanted to go. I looked out at the crowd passing by and suddenly remembered that night, 5 days into my marriage. I had sat in the car with a bouquet of freesias beside me, flowers I never got the chance to give. Back then, I thought I had lost a marriage. Later, I realized something else. I had only walked away from a mistake. I said, "Back to the office." The car started moving. Sunlight spread across the windshield. I didn't look back. This time, truly, I didn't.